James, thanks for joining us. Happy retirement and congratulations on what's been a brilliant career. You've had a couple of weeks now to sort of soak it all in, the decision that you made earlier in the month to retire. How do you reflect on it now, a couple of weeks on?
I think it was a pretty easy decision for me, to be honest. Last year, I was obviously at Worksop and we won the league comfortably. Really enjoyed it. Played a game, missed a game sort of thing, as my body was allowing me to do. And this year I thought, I could do the same again. And, I got an injury to my knee 3 or 4 months ago now. And I think it was just when I wanted my Sundays off, where I'd usually be taking the kids out. I was struggling walking and stuff like that. So it was in the back of my mind that once I got my knee right, that, I'm probably ready to call it a day. Because like every footballer tells you, they sort of know, when you know, you know. And, I wanted to focus my energy on my kids and making sure that my health is obviously the most important thing.
Does it make it easier to deal with? A lot of footballers talk about when you got to listen to your body, all that kind of stuff. When you know it's your time, when you know you got to put your body and your health first and look after your kids, that kind of thing. Are you at peace with the decision? Does it make it easier decision to make?
Yeah, I mean, it was a straightforward decision, to be honest. I've had probably the last 2 years since dropping into part-time, obviously been preparing for retirement. So it just felt the right decision, and I'm probably going to take a couple of weeks break from football and then come back, whether it's coming down to watch Bradford, like watch you guys, and just spend time with my kids. And because football is, a lot of people realise obviously the wealth and stuff that comes with it, and the enjoyment, and it's the best job. It is literally the best job you can have, but there's also a lot of sacrifices that your family make when you're going down London on a Tuesday night. I lived away for a year as well, away from my kids. So at the time I had one kid. So there's, it's about time. Obviously, I come back and spent a lot more time with them, and this allows me to do now with my weekends off.
And take it back to 2009. You'd started playing and you were quite prolific in non-league, playing for Eccleshill and then later Guiseley. You signed here for Bradford City 2009, first professional contract. At that point, would you have ever imagined what you would have gone on to have done and the career you would have gone on to have?
No, absolutely not. Obviously, everyone tells, when you're a Bradford lad, most Bradford kids will tell you it's a dream to play for your hometown club. And I was fortunate enough to do that. Obviously, the seasons we've had as well was magnificent. We're involved in some big history stuff with the club, so that makes it even more better. And it was just a brilliant time to play for the club.
You made your debut for the club start of that season, 2009-10, 5-0 defeat away at Notts County, I think, if I'm right. What are you thinking at that point? Massive mistake made, or?
No, it was probably the opposite, because it was a bit surreal, because obviously you had the stars at Notts County that day. Obviously the manager Sven-Goran Eriksson was there, and I think they had Lee Hughes got a hat-trick, didn't he, that day. So I was more in awe of the players that I was coming up against. I didn't expect to even come on the pitch, to be honest. I remember when I first signed, I'd spoke to my dad, and my dad was like giving me targets, or maybe play 10, 15 games and build yourself up into League Two. But I got thrown pretty much in the deep end, really. As soon as I come on at Notts County, I pretty much played every minute after that, really. So I was fortunate. Obviously, got Stuart to thank, and Mark Ellis, because Mark was brilliant with me at Guiseley, and he got in touch with Stuart to give me the chance here. So I'd like to thank both of them for getting me on the path to to start my career.
I guess in the same breath, like you mentioned, despite the results, who have made your debut for your hometown club? Like I say, I mean, you were still only 21 at the time, having come through the sort of unorthodox route through non-league. You were working quite famously part-time at a supermarket. Is that a bit of an accomplishment in itself for you? Was that a bit of a moment where you reflected and were like, wow, this is the only way is up for me, kind of thing?
I wouldn't say that, because I was always quite well grounded, and I thought obviously it's a start, but it doesn't mean I've made it by no means. So obviously it just gave me a bit more hunger to keep going and get better and better. And obviously the first couple of years at Bradford was a bit of a struggle, in terms of the team and the performances in the league. But obviously things changed when Phil come in, and we had some great moments, and he changed me as a player. It made me a lot better player and a lot fitter and stronger.
How were those early days? You mentioned for the team, results weren't great, but for yourself personally, you seemed to take to it quite well. I think you got 14 goals in that second season, won the first season, won the Player of the Year at the end of the season, got a new deal. You seem to take to it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, being involved in non-league, you can adapt to the physicality pretty easily. I think it helped with me, from start playing at Eccleston United men's first team at 16. I always knew I could cope physically with the demands of League Two. Obviously, it was a shock to my body a little bit training full time, so it did take me a little bit to get into shape properly with my body, and I was picking up little bits and niggles there, here and there, which I probably were expected to, considering I've just come from hardly training at all to training full time every day, and then coming up with the physical demands of League Two. But yeah, I mean, in terms of personal accolades, I was really happy with my performances, and especially the first season, and getting the goals that I did. And it was just a shame. I think I got injured the last 2 months, so I did miss the last 15 games or something like that. Hopefully I might have gone on to get 20 goals that season, which obviously would have been a great start.
11-12 season, you mentioned Phil Parkinson comes in partway through, and then bleeding into the 12-13 season, which obviously we went on to do what we did. Could you have envisaged sort of when Phil came in or towards the end of that season that we would have gone on to do what we did? Did it feel like when he came in, things started changing, something started to build?
I think in and around the training, we were always demanding better things for the lads. In terms of the playing squad we had in the 2011 to 2012 season, it obviously wasn't good enough. We was down struggling at the bottom of the league. I think his job were to come in and steady the ship and decide who he wanted to keep and who he wanted to let go, with the mind of having a go in 2013, that season. But you could see the professionalism change, off the pitch. He brought a lot more different mentality to the players, and we're always asking to improve things off the training pitch. So, I definitely think that, I was optimistic for a good season in 2013, but obviously not the way it planned out.
How significant a season for you was that personally? Obviously for the club it goes down in history, but for you, not just yourself, but for other players who played in that squad as well, it almost cemented your legacy as local heroes in Bradford for the club Bradford City, but also in the footballing world as well. Everybody remembers that team: James Hanson, Naki Wells, Gary Jones, Stephen Darby, the list goes on. How big was that season in that sense?
It's absolutely massive. As Phil kept touching on it in interviews and stuff, he kept saying, we just wanted to put Bradford back on the map. Obviously, they'd been in the Premier League and started dropping down the leagues, and they had a few disappointing seasons in League Two, and he just wanted to be the man that got a squad together that's able to take us up. And not only that, obviously we had the cup run which helped, and yeah, it was a brilliant season.
We started the season well in the league, and there was a lot of positivity around the club. Obviously in the cup as well, you scored the first goal of that run away at Notts County, great goal. When was it in that season that you felt something special could be on the horizon and we could go on to potentially achieve something really memorable? Obviously the Wigan game comes to mind, where you knock a Premier League team out of the cup. Where did that change for you that season? I
think the Wigan game was obviously a big spell, but just the squad depth we had was brilliant. I remember the first couple of 2 or 3 rounds of the cup, where the gaffer, he could select a squad, starting 11. It didn't necessarily weaken the team. I remember we was playing Burton at home here. We were 2-0 down. Obviously, I think there was me, Naki, and Kyle Reid on the bench, and he brought us on, and we come back and won 3-2. But it just showed the strength that we had in depth for that. Especially with Nick Allenby as well. He was like a massive part of us because he got us physically fit. We knew that if the longer the cup runs went on, we could still physically cope. We had a big enough squad, a good enough squad, and most importantly, we were fit. We knew we could play every game and not really struggle with injuries.
You mentioned Kyle Reid there, but Naki Wells as well. It's a question that you've answered countless times, but what was he like to play with? What was your relationship like? You seem to feed off each other so well to the point where it's still remembered and it's still harked back to by supporters. Oh, they like Hanson and Wells, they like this and that. How special was that relationship, and is it a surprise to see him go on and do what he's done, playing the Premier League, playing the Championship?
It was a dream to play with Naki. Obviously, he was so quick, and his anticipation was, the best probably I've ever played with and ever seen. So, throughout the first couple of years I was there, I was always winning my flick-ons, but people, whether they just couldn't gamble or they didn't know where it was going. Where I just remember the first game, I'd flicked 5 or 6 on it for 7-8 minutes, and Naki got in 3 or 4 times. And we just built a relationship from there. Obviously, we worked hard on the training ground. Phil would often pull us both aside and show us clips, and he developed his game so much. But yeah, it was just hard work on the training ground, and playing together, every week. It also helps.
Fifth round of the League Cup that season, one of the most famous nights in this club's history. Arsenal at home here under the lights at Valley Parade. What do you remember from that night? What do you take from that night?
Well, a little bit like pitch now, to be honest. It was a frosty night. It was a bit umming and ahhing whether the game might have been on. Obviously, we wanted it on desperately. I remember Arsenal turning up, and a few of the lads looking out the little windows in the changing room, and they were like, "Oh, Wilshire's here, so-and-so's here," not thinking they're going to play. And I remember the team sheet when Steve Parkin got it. He'd obviously had a look. He's writing it on the board, the team, and he just basically put the full starting 11 in, and then all the best lads. As a bit of a, he was a funny guy. And yeah, from there, it was just a special night. We had a game plan, which you always do against teams that are obviously possession based. We did sit in, and we relied on a bit of luck and a bit of good hard work, and we knew we'd cause them problems from set plays, and that's where we got us goal.
The Villa game as well, in the round after we did what we did against Arsenal, won it on penalties. A lot of people seem to look at those two fixtures, the two home ones against Arsenal and Villa, and compare them almost as though they were both special nights, yes, in their own right, but Premier League scalps coming here and us really going for them and creating memorable sort of moments, memorable games against both of those opponents. Do you look at it like that? Do you draw comparisons from those two games, or are you able to take different memories from both games?
I take different memories, to be honest with you, because the Arsenal game, we had a bit of a different game plan. Obviously, we knew we weren't going to have the ball. They're technically so good. We sort of hit them on the counter, and we just took any chance we could when we got a chance, put it in the box. Where Aston Villa, I generally thought we deserved to win that game at home. I think I had 3 or 4 chances. I hit the bar, I had a header cleared offline. It could have easily been 5-6-1. Well, equally, they could have scored a couple as well, but we definitely felt like we deserved to win that game, and it gave us obviously confidence going into the second leg that we can compete against these teams.
How good did it feel coming off the pitch here against Villa, scoring 3 goals against a Premier League outfit with some big, Christian Benteke, Abi Agbonlahor, big names, big players, and knowing you've deserved it, feeling like you've come off the pitch, scoring 3 goals, winning 3-1, and knowing that you've been full value for it, and how much of that confidence going into that Villa game was derived from the fact we'd done what we'd done against Arsenal, gone toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in Europe at that stage, and done what we'd done.
It felt absolutely brilliant, because obviously I think that they got a goal back just quite late on at home, and you're thinking, everyone else is thinking 2-1, it's probably not enough to go to Villa Parkway, and then Cal McHugh popped up with a great header, and it just gives us all that belief, when the full-time whistle went, how well we played as well. If we'd have only come away with a 2-1 win, it would have been a bit demoralising, but with that 2-goal cushion, we knew we had half a chance of going to Villa Park and getting some, especially from set plays, because like I said there, we created so many chances in that game.
The second leg, everybody knows the story, not a lot needs to be said, but perhaps the most significant goal of your career, would you say?
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, I'd had an interview with Simon Parker the other week. He was asking what my favourite goal was. Every kid wants to play at Wembley and score. I was fortunate enough to do that. But Villa Park, not many players playing a League Cup semi-final, and obviously score the goal that helps get the club to Wembley. So that has to top the lot.
Again, going there and entering the lion's den, so to speak. They had the flags out, everything. The 40,000 people in attendance. A lot of players would have gone under at that point, probably. But the confidence that we had coming out of us after the first leg, after the Arsenal game, and the mentality that had probably been instilled in us by Phil and Steve at that point. Did you feel confident going into that game that you would go on and make Wembley?
I wouldn't say confident. I thought we'd obviously go there and give it his best shot, because Phil was very good at keeping us, keeping the pressure off us in interviews and stuff, and we're always the underdogs. But yeah, it was a special night at Villa Park, even warming up, and it's probably the most intimidating place I'd played up until then. And I think we did start a little bit nervous, to be honest with you. Dukey kept us in the game first half. We could have been 4-5-0 down, and when we come in at half time, Phil settled us down, and he said to us, "Listen, you're 3/4 way through the tie and you're still leading it, so just calm yourselves down second half." And and that's what we did. Obviously, we managed to get the goal quite early in the second half, which sort of it tamed Villa a little bit. They didn't really sense that they could go through then, and especially the last 10 minutes, I thought we managed the game really well as well.
I've seen a lot of people speaking about that game, a lot of supporters saying that it almost didn't feel real that evening, doing what we'd done on the pitch, which really shouldn't have been possible. But then after the game going out, the snow had started coming down, it almost felt like it shouldn't be happening. Did you feel as players as though there was maybe a little bit of magic in the air that evening that helped us through?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, from the earlier rounds as well, you always need luck against these sides. As these play in the Premier League for a reason. They are a better team, they're better players than us. But you have to first and foremost, work harder than them, which we knew we could. We were a fit bunch, and like I say, we did get luck there, but we earned that luck. So it was unbelievable.
And then Wembley, not the result obviously that we wanted, but I guess to an extent a lot of people say the result that day didn't necessarily matter as much as it might have done on another day. For you to represent your hometown club at Wembley Stadium in a major cup final for a League Two team, how was that?
Oh, incredible. Just from I think we went down Thursday and just stayed in like St George's, proper nice hotel and nice training pitch, and the Sky Sports cameras were following us around. I think we had a police helicopter. We were watching the bus, Sky Sports News on the bus, and you could just see it like on Sky Sports, and it was just a bit surreal. But the game itself, from going out on the pitch at like 2:10, to walking out to pretty much a full Wembley, it's not often. When you're warming up, you don't get that many fans, but the cheer we got just for going out was incredible, and it wasn't the day that we wanted in terms of performance. But you have to take your hat off to Swansea. They were a top side then, and I'll never forget the Gary Jones shot. It was the only shot of the game, and the crowd, you'd have thought we'd have scored 10 goals that day.
The cup run was over, the final had been played. We had a bit of an uphill task then to get back into the playoffs. We'd sort of slipped as we got to the later rounds of the cup. What do you remember from those final few weeks of the season where we went on an almost impossible run in order to get back into the playoffs, and then everybody knows what happened next?
I remember, I think the turning point was Exeter away. We got beat 4-1, I think. It might have been 4-1, yeah. And I remember us getting a text in the group like about 9 o'clock as we were travelling back. Message from the gaffer saying, "Oh, everyone in tomorrow." So like thinking, what? Give us a break. But obviously, it was nice to come in really, and we had a few home truths. The video clips was out, and it gave us a bit of a rocket, to be honest, what we needed. And we come out after that and went on this incredible unbeaten run, and every player to a man was involved in it. And we always knew that if we got to the playoffs, we fancied beating any of the sides that we've played against. And I had a feeling once we'd booked us place in the playoffs that we'd go and win each game comfortably. Obviously, the Burton game here was a tough game. We weren't great that night, but we turned it around in the second leg.
That second leg, you scored your 50th goal for the club. Probably one of your better as well, yeah. And not a bad way to score a goal of such significance that helped us through again to get to Wembley for the second time in the season.
Yeah, like I touched on the first leg, Burton handled us really well. Me and Naki, to be fair, that day. I think they had two big centre halves and a midfielder right in front of us toes, so it was always tough to get some good service into me. But like I said, the gaffer just said you will get a chance second leg, and I remember a few of the more experienced lads at the time saying to me and Naki before the game a bit of a pep talk, saying, "Listen, you two talked about a lot in this league. Go and prove why. You've spoken about as one of the best partnerships in the league." And then obviously you couldn't have answered it any better than me scoring and Naki getting two.
And then the final back at Wembley. You mentioned obviously representing your hometown club at Wembley in a major cup final. You also mentioned scoring at Wembley. To do that for your hometown club, scoring a goal at Wembley, winning the game 3-0, it was almost the perfect day, wasn't it? How proud did that make you?
Yeah, incredibly proud. It's a special day. Like I said to you, to score for your hometown club at Wembley, and not only that, the icing on the cake was to get promoted, and to do it in the fashion that we did it. It was an unbelievable day. Not many teams go to Wembley and blow someone away in the first half, and we did that and then managed the game incredibly well second half. I never felt in second half that Northampton were getting back into it, and it was quality, good day.
The season after in League One started really well, started the season really well, and ended up finishing around mid-table. I think a really respectable finish for, again, a team that had just been promoted. We lost Naki halfway through that season. Did you feel at that point as though something was building? Obviously, it had already started in the seasons prior, but we were really gathering a lot of momentum and working our way from being a mid-table League Two team to a top-end League One team in the space of a few years.
I felt, obviously the style of football we played, we mixed it really well. We went direct when we had to do, and we knew we'd cause teams problems in League One. I think probably took teams by surprise the first 2 or 3 months of the season. I think we won the first 5, or did we win 4, drew 2 of the first 6 games, and we were well up there until obviously we'd lost Naki, which was a bit of a turning point in the season. But to still finish 10th, 11th where we did is an incredible achievement from just coming up from League Two, and it allowed us to kick on again the second season after that.
And then the season after that, like you say, another memorable one, the FA Cup run. You scored the first goal in the Millwall game here to set up the game against Chelsea. 4-0, a great night here again at Valley Parade. Was that maybe the time in that season where you felt that, again, something special could be on the cards? We'd just booked a trip to Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, obviously the draw had been made. So when we drew at Millwall, the draw got made after that game, and we knew what were at stake. So did Millwall. And I remember, I think Beavers got sent off after 5 minutes. He pulled me back, and that was sort of eased the game a little bit. And we were brilliant that night. We went and scored 3 goals down there. They were a championship team, and to beat them 4-0 here was brilliant. And we set us up for obviously a great trip to Stamford Bridge.
And then, of course, on that, beating the Premier League champions 4-2 in their own backyard. They had stars all over the pitch, Jose Mourinho in the dugout, serial winners everywhere, really. You've spoken, I think, before about how that was your favourite game in a Bradford City shirt. Is that still the case? What do you remember from that game?
Favourite game, obviously, I didn't score, didn't assist, but, as a personal achievement to be on the pitch, the same as like Hazard, Drogba, top players that are, proven Premier League players. They'd been unbeaten for so many years in that league. So to go there and produce the performance that we did, and that's got to be the best game I've played in, I think, as a Bradford City player.
And then again that season, the cup run, the games that we had here at home, again beating Sunderland, and then a great day against Reading as well, albeit a 0-0 draw. But to walk out at Valley Parade and see the stands as packed as they were, everybody in the city again so excited for what was going on the pitch. How proud did that make you to walk out and see what you and your teammates and the rest of the club had sort of achieved, and how everybody had come together to support you in another cup run?
It's brilliant. Obviously, when I first signed for the club, we were still getting very good crowds, don't get me wrong, 11, 12,000, but to then fast forward 4 or 5 years and you're walking out in front of 22,000, 25,000, with all, it's absolutely brilliant. And, we were very unlucky not to beat Reading that day. It's still a bit gutting that we didn't manage to get the job done then. It was a magnificent opportunity to ended up getting in the semi-final, but we can still look back and say quarter-finals was brilliant achievement.
15-16 season, we made the playoffs then in League One, and a couple of personal sort of achievements for yourself. I think you made your 300th appearance for the club that season, and also scored your first career hat-trick against Walsall. When you look back, how significant were those moments and how enjoyable at the time, like I said, to score your first career hat-trick here at Valley Parade and make 300 appearances for the club? It's some going, isn't it? Yeah,
incredible. I don't think I was going to play there. It was funny enough, we were playing Peterborough away, and I'd been ill that week, and the gaffer had pulled me and asked how I was at the hotel, and he said, "Oh, you do notice your 300 appearance today if you play." So I was like, well, I'm playing 100% if I'm fit. And I did a fitness test before the game and scored 2, and we won 4-0. So that was icing on the cake for that 300 appearance. And yeah, to get my first hat-trick here was a special moment. I think Walsall was second then, or they was flying high and we was 5th. So it was a big attendance here that day. And we always did well against teams that played total football, because we always felt we could bully them. And that day we absolutely battered them and beat them 4-0. And but I've come close a few times, so it was nice to get that hat-trick, yeah.
The season after, Phil left, Stuart came back. reunited with him. You left halfway through the season to go to Sheffield United. 91 goals for the club in 335 appearances. You still remain third in the all-time top goal scorers here at Bradford City. We were just speaking before, we're going to get your plaque sorted out here in the Legends Suite, but that's some record, isn't it? It's still, you know, a lot to take from that, and how proud that makes you.
Yeah, incredibly proud. Obviously, I know Andy Cook's doing really well, and he probably will overtake me, but, you know, I still say, even if I'm fourth in, it'll take some time to get me off at top 10. So my kids and their kids will know about it, which is the main thing for me. Yeah.
You spent about 18 months then at Sheffield United, going on and playing in the Championship for them. How do you reflect on your time there? I guess to have played at the level you did there for a club like Sheffield United must have been great as well.
Yeah, you know, at the time, I didn't really want to leave Bradford, to be honest with you. But I had to sort of look after myself as well. I only had 6 months left on my deal. The chairman at the time sort of promised everyone new deals, and it didn't really happen. He sort of said he was going to wait till the end of the season, which is fine. But I knew I had interest, you know, from other clubs, and you know, when they come in and offer you a 2.5-year contracts, you know, you probably have to take it. It's a short career, football, and you know, I'm glad that I made the move to Sheffield United. It just didn't quite work out with injuries and stuff like that, but you know, I had some great moments there, great bunch of lads, and you know, there's still players there that playing now in the Premier League, so it's, you know, really good.
You moved on to Wimbledon, played for Grimsby, came back here on a couple of occasions and played as a visiting player. How strange was that? How, I guess, exciting to come back to Valley Parade as a visiting player and experience it from a different perspective. How was that for you?
Yeah, brilliant. I went on loan to Bury my first time back here, and you know, the standing ovation I got was absolutely brilliant. You know, I'll never forget that day. I think we were 2-0 down, and I we come back and drew 2-2. But yeah, the atmosphere is incredible to play in, and you know, I've always said when you're playing for the club, you know, sometimes the fans just suck that ball into the net, especially in the Cop. So, you know, it's an hard place to come, you know, if you're not used to it. And a few of the players that I played with obviously struggled to adapt to such a good atmosphere here.
You went back into non-league, finished your career there, played for a couple of teams in the sort of north of England in non-league. Did that feel like a bit of a full circle moment, having started at Eccleshill and Guiseley before you signed your first professional deal, coming almost back around and ending your career back where you started? Was that always the plan, or is it just how it happened?
It was always the plan for me. I'd left Grimsby and I had a couple of offers to stay in the league, but it meant travelling. We just had a baby on the way, so you know, ideally I wanted to be back home. So I did say to the missus, listen, you know, I don't want to take the chance of travelling up and down the motorway to stay in League Two. You know, I've got nothing to prove. I want to be back home and back happy. So I made the decision to drop into the Conference North. Obviously, Farsley was on my doorstep, which was ideal for me at the time, you know, to be home all the time to help with the baby. So I don't regret my decision at all. Like I said, I probably could have stayed in the league if I wanted to, but you know, for me personally, I just wanted to be back happy and back home.
Looking back on all of that, your career as a whole, well over 500 professional appearances, well over 100 professional goals. How proud does that make you? Now you're retired, does it give you maybe an opportunity to stop and look back and think about what you achieved, what you managed to see, what you managed to do, and I guess the impact that you had on football, on Bradford City in particular at that time, and the legacy that you've sort of left? Yeah,
very much so. I think when you're in the moment of football, you don't quite realise what you've achieved or what you've done in the game until you actually come out. I remember obviously we played Chelsea for Grimsby and we got beat 7-1, and it's one of them where the lads look back, you know, remember the dressing room after, and the lads are like, how did you beat Chelsea 4 or 5 years ago when we got beat 7-1 to a reserve team? So it's stuff like that where, you know, once you come out of the moment and realise, that's when you realise what you've done and what we've achieved. And you know, I'm incredibly proud to have played over 500 games in the Football League, and to score the amount of goals I did. You know, I'm yeah, like I said, I'm proud of what I've done.
Finally, and most importantly, what now for James Hanson? What does retirement look like for you?
Spending time with my kids, my family, first and foremost. You know, ideally, just a steady Monday to Friday job, weekends off, get my chance to come down here. My eldest is into football, so she takes up my time now on a Saturday morning, which, you know, she deserves my time because, like I said, there's sacrifices where she hasn't seen me when I've been down in London for a year, or like I said, I've been in games where I'm I've had to stay over and stuff like that. So yeah, she's into football and she's a Bradford fan, so she's looking forward to coming down and seeing my shirts on the wall and pictures and stuff like that. So yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing you back down here. We can't wait to welcome you back and show you your plaque on the wall when it arrives. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming down. Again, congratulations on a great career and all the best in retirement.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.